Okay. So first of all, big welcome to Visa.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. It's an honor to have you. So we're studying the book of Tanya. Tanya teaches us about our relationship with Hashem, and it teaches us about what we're doing here, why are we here, and what are we doing here? And to answer this question, we speak about 5 different categories of people. 3 main categories and a total of 5. So there is something called a tzaddik. My phone. There's something called a tzaddik, which is a righteous individual. A rasha, which what we would translate as a wicked individual. And then there is Beinoni, which means in between. And our goal, and what Tanya is teaching us, is to strive to be a Beinoni. Beinoni means in between. So it does not mean 50% good and 50% bad. But what it does mean is that we have insides and outsides. Our thought, speech, and action is our outside. And then we have our character, our character and the inner work. So the struggle, that's the inside. A tzaddik is someone, generally speaking, a tzaddik is someone who is perfect on the inside and on the outside, which means he has overcome his struggles. And of course, in his thoughts, speech, and action, he's perfect. A rasha is the opposite. A rasha is someone, a wicked person is someone who thought, speech, and action, he doesn't have the self-control. And of course, inside, he's struggling. A Beinoni, to be in between the two, which is what we're trying to do, which is what Tanya is trying to teach us, is that on the outside, we try to, in our outside, which means in our thoughts, in our speech, and in our action, we try to be perfect in our thought, speech, and action. However, so that's how we're similar to the tzaddik. We're perfect try to be perfect on the outside like a tzaddik. However, inside, we are struggling like the rasha, like the wicked person. So that's what it means in between. In between tzaddik and rasha is not 50% good, 50% bad on the scale, but rather on the outside, we try as much as we can to have the self-control to perfect thought, speech, and action. On the inside, we still have the struggles. And our entire lives, we will struggle. We may never come to a point where there's no struggle. The struggle might fluctuate, and the struggle might be in one area and not in a different, and then you overcome that, and then there's a new struggle in a different area, whatever it is. So that's what we're trying to achieve. In chapter 10 is dedicated to the tzaddik. Chapter 11, which is next week, is only one chapter, and that speaks about the rasha, the wicked person. And then from 12 and on till 53 is all talking about the Beinoni, which is who we're striving to be. But it's important information to know what a tzaddik really is, in order for us to understand later what we're striving to be, what we can and cannot do. Now, within the tzaddik, there are 2 categories.
Just so you know, I watched 2 of your videos.
Oh, you did?
So
Okay.
I know imperfect and perfect.
Perfect. Okay, amazing. There you go. Okay, excellent. Okay, so I'm glad that you're telling me. So today we're delving more into the imperfect and the perfect tzaddik.
Okay.
So the fact that you could say that a tzaddik is imperfect or incomplete we already question that. If I'm a tzaddik, then I'm perfect. How could you have an imperfect tzaddik? It's an oxymoron right there. So we have to understand that perfect or imperfect, or complete or incomplete, is not that an incomplete tzaddik performs 612 mitzvahs and a complete tzaddik performs 613. It's not that you're talking about a 1,000-piece puzzle and an imperfect tzaddik put together 999 pieces and a complete tzaddik put in the 1,000th piece. The complete and incomplete is talking about something else. It's not about action, because even a Beinoni is perfect in action, but rather what it's talking about is how complete is the love for God. And love, the opposite side of love, is hate. If I love somebody very, very much, then I hate anyone who tries to harm them or hurt them. So a complete tzaddik is someone whose love for Hashem is so complete that their hate for anything that disconnects a person from God is complete.
It's not that they hate a person, they hate the actions.
100%. A
They hate
tzaddik,
the belief, they hate their belief.
they hate the circumstance, they hate the
Hate the Avera, but they don't hate the
The
person
person.
who's committing the Avera, because it's not
They're
really.
taking away the truth of the world. He's like,
yeah, they hate the fact that the person is in this situation.
Right.
But a tzaddik will never hate a person.
Right.
That's very, very important. For example, your child, you love your child.
Right.
If your child does something wrong, you don't hate your child, you hate what they did. And because you love them, that's why you hate the action. And the more you love them, the more you hate the action. So for a tzaddik, a complete tzaddik, it's not enough that the city should be crime-free. The tzaddik can't stand the fact that there are even criminals in jail. Doesn't matter.
Someone wants to get on Zoom. What's the Zoom again?
Okay, chabadhamzriver.com/Zoom. And if there's a password, it's 1234.
I should have tried that.
Sorry, I should have told you.
I had a hard time, it's straightforward.
It says Zoom.
I always had a hard time, just put it in straight on the Safari, it comes right in, takes you right there.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. Imagine you're driving down the street and unfortunately you see a homeless person. You feel bad. Then you turn the corner and you forget because you're rushing to the appointment or something else is going on in your life and you forget. That's one scenario. Next scenario, you're driving, you're driving down the street and you see a homeless person and all of a sudden you realize that the homeless person that you see is actually your best friend from high school. That's a different story.
You don't forget that.
So now there's two choices. The unhealthy choice is unhealthy anger, and you're angry at the person. But it's not a healthy anger because the reason why you're angry is because you are uncomfortable. It's an ego-driven anger. It makes you feel uncomfortable. Why did you mess up your life? Now I have to go pick up the
What
pieces.
if you're not angry, you just feel really sad about it?
If you're not angry at the person, but you hate the fact that their life is a mess, that is healthy anger. And in that situation, you're not going to just continue driving. Because you love them so much, you have to try to help them. So go ahead.
Trying to understand how I can feel angry at such a time. Like you said, it's more sadness than anger.
Yeah.
Then you have that's healthy.
Maybe it's more like an example of someone you're related to.
Yeah, even a
And a
family
friend,
member.
because if someone that you're angry because they're ruining my life, they're like, that was a thought, to be like,
Right.
that would be defense, like, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed, or why are you doing this to me? I'm thinking that scenario, like if it was a brother, then you feel like I'm angry because I have to deal with it, and it's like, it's more, you're more like.
Responsibility.
it
It's
reflects
closer
your
to
ego.
home. A
Right.
family member is
Yeah.
closer than a friend that you
Right.
haven't seen in 10 years.
But-
Absolutely. So
It causes problems with the families, you start to feel, I'm thinking of like situations, like
Yeah.
an addict or the person that, so it's hard to find the response because they're ego driven, it's my family, they're ruining me.
my image.
My image.
Right.
That's the mind to go, they're my inconvenience to my life.
Thinking of this situation and I'm thinking, how can you be so not smart?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
right,
it's
it starts to get
not,
ego.
it's not, yeah, I guess,
That's-
in
that's
that way, yeah.
So it becomes about
definitely.
your ego, not about the response, that's what you're saying.
Right,
It's
right.
ego driven.
Right. So a tzaddik is not even going to feel angry at the individual, but rather it's a
Really discuss.
it's a disgust for anything that holds a person back from connecting to Hashem.
Mhm.
That's how tzaddik feels. For example, October 7th. Okay? Two things we learned October 7th. Number one, we learned that the world doesn't love us as much as we thought they did.
But true.
And number two, we learned that we love each other more than we thought.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yes.
If the pictures, the videos, if there's a person that could watch the videos or see the pictures and not be disgusted, then we're angry at them. What's with you? there's something wrong with you. This has to disgust you.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't bother you, then there's a problem. So just like October 7th bothered us to the core, how could it be that in this world there are people, that I don't even know if you could call them people, that could act with such hate? How does that make you feel? That makes you feel you want to throw up, literally. You're disgusted by the fact that these people could even exist. Like, it's just beyond. That's how a tzaddik feels when he sees there's a world and God created this world and recreates the world every single second and gives us our life and gives us everything that we have. And we're just going about our day looking for more and more pleasure without even realizing where everything is coming from. Like, how could such a world exist? That's what bothers a tzaddik, to their core.
To that level.
To that,
The October 7th level.
the October 7th
I
level.
never thought of it that way. Wow. Wow, to such a degree, you have to hate sin. And you have to hate disconnection from Hashem.
Yeah. There's a story of an individual who wanted to experience what is Hasidus. Hasidus is the Hasidic philosophy. So he went to the court of the Alter Rebbe, who was the first Chabad Rebbe. And the week that he came, that Shabbos was Parshas Zachar, when we read it right before Purim, and we read in the Torah about this nation of Amalek, who everyone was afraid of the Jews, the Jewish nation after the Exodus, after the splitting of the sea. And what happens? This nation, so the Jewish people are compared to a boiling hot bathtub. No one is going near. Amalek, this nation, is willing to get burnt, to jump into the bathtub just to cool it off for everyone else. Amalek is this has the numerical equivalence of the word safek, which means doubt. Amalek is all about pouring cold water on the inspiration. This is what represents this is what they represent. So they're reading the Torah. They're reading the Torah. This Parsha Zachar, a couple of verses about Amalek, which we have a mitzvah to remember this nation of Amalek. And there's one chassid that you could see on his face. He is so angry. It's as if the leader of Hamas is standing in front of him right now. So this says after the prayer comes in and says, what are you so angry about? Like what's going on? Are you so angry about this nation from thousands of years ago? He said, no, I'm not angry about the Amalek from thousands of years ago. That's, but rather there's what am I angry at? I'm angry at the Amalek inside of me. I hate the fact that inside I have the capacity to be so dispassionate and distracted. And I want to eradicate that Amalek inside of me, because that's what we say, that we have a mitzvah to eradicate the nation of Amalek. I'm so angry, I want to eradicate the Amalek inside of me, that apathy and the toxic mindset, that's what I want to get rid of. So, yeah. Okay, so to summarize, okay, so far we said like this: the tzaddik, and for sure the complete tzaddik, not only are they perfect in behavior, but also they're perfect in their feelings, in their love for Hashem, and their hate for anything that gets in the way of a connection to Hashem. Okay. And this love is something called Ava Rabba. It's a love of pleasure. The tzaddik wakes up every morning and he says, God, what can I do for you? And the tzaddik is ready to give up everything for Hashem, just like a son is ready to give up his life for his parents. And it's a pure love. It's like grandparents to their grandchildren. They don't walk around and tell their grandchildren, what can you do for me? It's, what can I do for you? And that is the definition of love. There's love and there's lust. Love is, what can I do for you? How do I know if I love someone? If I have a desire to do something for them. Lust is, what can you do for me? That's the difference. So a tzaddik truly loves Hashem. It's his pleasure. What can I do for you? What can I do for you, Hashem? Okay. And therefore, the tzaddik who loves Hashem so much, he'll do anything in his power, not to just like you would do anything you can to help the homeless person who's your relative. The tzaddik cannot just drive by. He'll do anything in his power to transform the world and to make this world a better place. Okay.
But is it Canaan? Can't other people besides the Sadek and other people who are not Sadeks do that, which will change the people, will enlighten them, maybe not everybody.
Yes, 100%, 100%. So to answer your question, I'll just say this. It says in this chapter, there are 18,000 different levels of tzaddikim. I assume that's throughout time, throughout history. So what I'm saying is that a complete tzaddik has his love and hate is to the highest degree, while me and you, we also, October 7th makes us, makes us vomit, right? And we also feel disgust when we see people behaving in an immoral way, etc., etc. But we kind of have a love-hate relationship with the pleasures of this world. We enjoy what we enjoy, and then we have the guilt, So our hate for things that don't necessarily connect us to God is not 100%. There are so many levels. There's so many levels. So for example, one of the laws of kosher is that if you have a chicken soup and a little bit of milk spills inside, is the chicken soup still kosher? So the answer is, if you have 60 times more chicken soup than milk, the milk is nullified in the chicken soup and it's still kosher. So it's called batal b'shishim. It's 1/60th. The milk is 1/60th and it's still kosher. You could have the milk being 1 part of a million or 1 part of a billion. So what I'm just trying to say is that there's various, millions, billions of levels, and it's all how much do you love? How much do you hate? And the way to know is how much do you care to change the world?
And sometimes that can change daily by the minute.
Yeah.
One day you're feeling more so in that way, and other days it's harder.
So that's the Beinoni. You're describing the Beinoni. The Beinoni, it fluctuates. The struggle fluctuates. The internal struggle fluctuates. So not every day is the same. But a tzaddik, number one, a tzaddik doesn't have temptation anymore. We have 2 souls. His godly soul overpowered his animal soul. So not only did he take anything negative, not only is he complete control of every single thing that's going on, even the 1/60th of negativity, he manages it so well, it's locked up in jail. It will never express itself. And for all practical purposes, the temptations will never come up. And a complete tzaddik has even transformed the criminals into rehabilitated the criminals. So it's all levels. It's all it's all levels. But excellent question. Okay. And now we're going to move on to another concept. So everything that we said till now, we've discussed many times. Now we're going to talk about something brand new. And this concept is introduced to us by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, whose yahrzeit is next Friday. We have Lag BaOmer, which is a very great holiday. It's an esoteric holiday. It's like the giving, we have the holiday Shavuos when we celebrate the giving of the Torah. Lag BaOmer is the day where we celebrate the giving of Chassidus, the giving of Kabbalah, the giving of the secrets of Torah. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was a tremendous tzaddik. And if we really want to know what a tzaddik is, the best way would be to interview a tzaddik. Let's ask a tzaddik how they really feel. And actually, the Alter Rebbe, the one who wrote the Tanya, he actually wrote a book, the Book of Tzaddikim. And unfortunately, there was a fire and it was burnt. And Alter Rebbe never rewrote the book. I guess he felt that we weren't on that level, and that he didn't rewrite it. So if you really want to know what a tzaddik is, you have to go to a tzaddik or see what did a tzaddik write about himself or write about tzaddikim in order to truly understand what a tzaddik is. So in this chapter, the Alter Rebbe, the author of the Tanya, brings Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and he and tells us how Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai described what a tzaddik is. It's two words: Bnei Aliyah. Bnei Aliyah. This is how we describe what a tzaddik is. Now we have to understand, what does it mean, Bnei Aliyah? Ben usually means the son of, but here Bnei Aliyah together is a phrase that it's not talking about a biological son, like you have bar mitzvah, or bar is similar to ben. It's just a phrase that comes together, and it means it's talking about a complete tzaddik, Bnei Aliyah. Okay. So what's the story of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? Just to understand who we're talking about. He didn't speak very positively about the Romans who were in charge at that time. And word got to the Romans about what he said, and he had to flee for his life. And he hid in a cave with his son for 12 years. And he only learned Torah day and night. There was a boxer tree that grew, and there was water. That's how they survived.
The tree was carob.
Yeah, thank you. A carob tree, thank you. And after they came out, they were in such a spiritual state that Hashem said, you have to go back into the cave and calm down, because there was too much power. And even after they came back, even after the 13th year, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was already, brought the inspiration back down to this earth, while his son still had work to do. And his son, when he saw Jewish people just like plowing the field, it disgusted him, because he was in such a high spiritual state that fire came out of his eyes and literally like burnt the crops, and the people just like dropped dead from his gaze. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he actually brought them back to life and healed everything that his son destroyed. But this is who we're talking about, who said that, who described a tzaddik gamor, a complete tzaddik, as Bnei Aliyah. So what does it mean, Bnei Aliyah? It's how you say it. Aliyah, right, is when you go to move to Israel, right? But Bnei Aliyah comes from the same word. Aliyah means an elevation. Elevate. There's a difference between ascent and elevate. Ascent is when you go up. Elevate is not only when you go up, but you elevate stuff around you. What's an example to understand what Bnei Aliyah is? Bnei Aliyah are people that are very, very rare. It's a very, very rare class of people that are living on a higher plane, on a higher altitude. So imagine that you're in a car and you're driving and there's traffic, bumper to bumper traffic. Now, it's very interesting if you look around when you're in traffic to see all the other drivers around you, how they're reacting. You have some people that their hands are gripping the steering wheel, and every time the car in front of them moves 3 inches, they're moving, and they're frustrated because they have an appointment and they're late and their face is red and they're like fuming. And then you have other people, maybe not that many. They're calm. They're listening to their podcast. They're listening to their shir. They're okay. But in any case, however you're reacting, you're still stuck in traffic. Versus an airplane, right? The pilot is driving the airplane, flying the airplane above all the traffic. For the pilot, the traffic is irrelevant. So the traffic, that represents the struggles of our life. This tzaddik gamor, this complete tzaddik, he's on a completely different plane, pun intended. He's on a completely different level that we the tzaddik and me, we could both be walking down the street, but the tzaddik experiences life from a whole different level, a whole different, realm than regular people.
How can they understand us and love us?
Ah.
How can they tolerate us?
So this is very important. You would think that a complete tzaddik who's living on such a high spiritual level that they're not relatable. However, the opposite is true. The higher something is, the lower it could come down. For example, water. Water comes from a very high place, and it goes down to the lowest place. As a matter of fact, if you want to know if your floor is even, you're doing construction, pour a cup of water. If the water stays, then you know the floor is even. If it's not, then the water is gonna go to the lowest possible place. And the way you know that something is so great is according to how low it could go. The greatest tzaddik could bend down and talk to a little child. That no Jew is too small.
What makes me think, well, Hashem still loves us as imperfect as we are.
Yeah.
So similar, except obviously higher.
But the tzaddik is still human,
Right.
and I find it hard to believe that.
But I feel like it's because they're so connected and in alignment with Hashem that's what.
Wow. You hit it on the dot. It's because they're so in love with Hashem that they can love his children.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I feel like even the more we're connected with Hashem, which on some days can be more than other days, but on the days when you're really in alignment with Hashem, I feel like you can feel somewhat that way about other people, not get angry or not get upset and just kind of go with the flow and it's Hashem's will. Like, and you were saying before about asking Hashem, like, what can I do for you today? He'll take you up on it if you do that.
Yeah.
Things will come in your way, in your path, and if you're remembering, you'll think, or at least I've had it where I was like, okay, I think that's for a reason, and maybe I need to do something about that.
Like yesterday, you sent me an email. You said I couldn't come to the class. I was helping my neighbor.
Yeah.
So there you were. You were open. You're open vessel.
Well, I was a little, and I was torn about that because I help them on a regular basis. He's very ill, and she needs the help, and I'm right next door and I'm kind of the only one that can help them that easily like that. So I make myself available to do that. But then this came up, I didn't see it until later. And I was like, oh, she could probably do it by herself, but then it might be dangerous. And I'm like, what should I do? I really want to go to that. I was in turmoil and I'm like, I know I have to help her. And and I wanted to help her, but I also wanted to come here. And then I saw the Zoom thing and I was like, oh, I can get on Zoom at the same time, but I couldn't get in. So, and then last night you sent me this and I'm like, great, it's even closer and a better time. So it all worked out for the best. And I just watched your video anyway, so it was all good.
So what happened here is that you were selfless. To come to the class would have benefited you, but to help your neighbor, that was selfless, and that is godly. We're gonna that is tzaddik like. That's how a tzaddik operates, and we're gonna see that more. Okay, so we established the fact that the tzaddik is on a higher level, but yet they're their whole everything they want to do is to help to help the people. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, there was, just to show like during his lifetime there was a little an inconvenience. There was an inconvenience. Why? Because there was a cemetery, a very old cemetery that was broken down, and everyone knew there were graves in that area, but no one knew where the graves actually were, and therefore Kohanim, who are not supposed to become impure, they would have to go a roundabout way to get to where they had to go. It was an inconvenience. It wasn't the end of the world. It was an inconvenience. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai came and he told them where the graves are exactly. He marked the graves. He said, "This is where this is really where a Kohen cannot walk, and he actually helped them. That these Kohanim now could get to the destination in a much shorter, quicker time. So this is a tzaddik, even something as insignificant as to save another person a few minutes. That was something that was important for him to do. And of course, he revived all the people that his son that were torn. He healed the people that passed because of his son. So he really cared about the people, and he was really in touch. And a complete tzaddik definitely is in touch with every single Jew, and there's no Jew that he will not feel for and care about. Okay. So when we're speaking about this concept of Bnei Aliyah, that they're on this elevated state and that they elevate stuff with them, we have to look at it in two ways. In Judaism, we learn that we have to sur meira, stay away from bad, and va'asei taiv, do good. So in both of these realms, we have to see how is a tzaddik elevated above the rest in how he looks at evil and in how he does good. So that's what we want to discuss. Okay, so how a tzaddik looks at evil, we already spoke about a lot, and we said that first of all, a tzaddik is completely above us because we're in traffic, we're struggling, but a tzaddik completely has no struggles. But how does he deal with the dirt, the filth, the negativity, the evil in this world? So he completely transforms it. He turns darkness into light and turns bitterness into sweetness. So, I'll give an example or two. In the Alter Rebbe's time, he was living in Russia, and the Jews were very, very oppressed by the Russians. And Napoleon from France, he was being very victorious, and there was a war between France and Russia. And Napoleon, was so enlightened. So if Napoleon would win Russia, then the Jewish people physically, it would be much, much better for them. They wouldn't be so, they wouldn't suffer so much physically. However, all the enlightenment and all these ideas would be more dangerous spiritually for the Jews. So the Alter Rebbe was of the opinion that it's better that Napoleon should not be victorious. However, there were other colleagues that felt differently. They said, no, the oppression is so bad. We just need let Napoleon be victorious and let the Jews breathe. Because the way we work, the way the Jewish people are is when we're oppressed, we're very, we're into the religion and we're very committed and to Hashem. But just like, the Jews, when they came over to America, then all of a sudden, the Golden Medina, everything was, when they came to America where there was freedom, right? Then it was much more of a struggle to stay religious, to hold on to the faith. Jewish people are like an olive. When you're crushed, the olive oil comes out. So when we're crushed as a people, that's when the best part of us comes out. That's how it is.
Say it in davening every single day in the Hagel. I'm gonna try to find it because I'm not good. I don't remember things like right off the top of my head. But there it is. We say, you will eat and you will be satisfied. And then the next sentence says, Hisham Yiluchem, watch yourself. Because when we're content and satisfied, we forget about Hashem sometimes. It's very easy to get relaxed and just enjoy life.
Yeah.
And the pleasures of life. And when it comes too easy, Hashem, how does Hashem wake us up? By bringing us discomfort, it makes us move.
Yeah. We had enough discomfort, so now we're all done.
Yes.
Now I just need Mashiach. But
comfort, just remember Hashem.
right.
That's
Don't
what
think
he's
that,
telling
this is
us.
my, all of a sudden a person is so wealthy. Oh, it's my doing. To remember that it's always God's blessing.
Yeah.
100%. So anyway, there was another a tzaddik. His name was Reb Shlomo Karliner, who was a colleague of Alter Rebbe, and he wanted Napoleon to win. And it's a spiritual thing because it's not just physical. Everything down here is a reflection of up there. So everyone knew it was Rosh Hashanah was coming. Whoever blows shofar first, if the Alter Rebbe blows shofar first, then Russia is going to win. If Shema Karliner blows shofar first, then Napoleon is going to win. So Shema Karliner wakes up very, very early, Rosh Hashanah morning, all of his chassidim. The second that you're able to start davening the morning prayers, they're davening, they're racing the clock, davening as quick as they could till they get to blowing the shofar. He's about to blow the shofar and he says, the Litvak was the Alter Rebbe because he was living in Lithuania, he beat me to it. What happened? The Alter Rebbe, he woke up in the morning, he didn't daven, he just blew the shofar right away. So ultimately, Napoleon lost. But Napoleon, he was also into magic. And he knew that the Alter Rebbe was against him. And Alter Rebbe was so against him. So to show you what a tzaddik is, that he wasn't just praying for what he wanted, but he actually sent one of his chassidim to be a spy, to be a translator, and to be a spy to give the secrets to Russia. Which means that a tzaddik, when he wants something, he's going to do whatever he can to get the result. And the chassid, well, he was a translator. He was the translator. He was sitting. So there was a meeting. Napoleon is sitting with all of his top, generals, and Napoleon knows there is someone in this room that's a spy, because all of his secrets are being leaked. So he suspected this chassid that's sitting in the corner over there being the translator. So he stands up, he marches over to him, and he says, "You are a spy." And then he took his hand, Napoleon, and put it on the heart of this chassid to see if his heart is going to beat faster. And it didn't. Because the Alter Rebbe taught him, which we're going to learn about later, that your mind has to rule your heart, and he was able to make sure that his heart wouldn't beat one beat faster, and that's how his life was saved. But that's a side point, not side point, whatever, we'll get to that. But Napoleon is advancing, and he wanted to get hold of the Alter Rebbe, or at least of his possessions, something that belongs to him. And the Alter Rebbe was fleeing from Napoleon, and he actually passed away on the run. And he said that they should burn down his house, any possessions they're leaving behind, to burn it, so Napoleon shouldn't get his hands on it. And actually, they had already started traveling, and they came back for a pair of slippers that was left behind. Anyway, Napoleon comes, and he couldn't find anything that belonged to Alter Rebbe, and he was furious. But this was what Napoleon represented. Was he represented being sunk into materialism and disconnect from God, etc., etc. That's what he represented. And what happens? What does a tzaddik do? If you've ever been to Chabad for high holiday services, you'll notice that after Yom Kippur is over, or they say at the end of Yom Kippur, we say Shema Yisrael, we say Hashem Elokim, and you've reached the climax. I mean, we've sat for 26 hours, however many hours, and done so much teshuvah, and this is like, we're like angels. I mean, we can't beat that, right? We're on the highest level. And then before we blow the shofar, the Chabad custom is that we sing a melody. It's a melody of victory. It goes like this. Ya 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 ma ya 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 ma ya 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 ma ya ma ya ya ma ya ya ma la ya ay ya 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 ma la dam ay la dam ay la dam ay ya 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 ma la dam ay la dam ay la dam ay la ya ma la ya ma ya 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 ma la yam ay ya 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 ma ya ya ma la dam la ya ma ya 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 ay ya ya ma la la ya ay ya 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 ma la ya 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 ma ya 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 ma la ya ya ma ya ya ya. This is the melody. And this is called Napoleon's March. What did the Alter Rebbe do? He took the French anthem and converted it, transformed it into a niggin that we sing when? At the end of Yom Kippur. And after this, we blow the shofar. And I remember as a kid, the Rebbe in 770, the whole singing this niggun, the entire 770 was literally shaking. The Rebbe with his hands would motivate the singing. The place was, it was, I can't even describe it. Everyone wanted to get a glimpse of the Rebbe at that moment. The place was flying is an understatement. Everyone was jumping with, you think they, you wouldn't realize that
I
they,
remember seeing the jumping when they sang even Ashrei, and you were scared that all the branches are gonna
Yeah.
break.
it was,
Somehow
it was
it's staying
unbelievable.
safe.
And my husband, when he sings it, there's usually children running around. The image that I have is a baby in one hand, and he's standing on a chair and dance. A lot of times he dances with the kids, but he's literally dancing on a chair with a baby in his hand and then singing that niggin and then blowing the shofar. It's like beyond. But that's what it means, a tzaddik. What is a tzaddik? How does a tzaddik deal with the sor meirah? How does a tzaddik deal with the evil of the world? To transform it to such an extent that this is the niggin that we're singing at the end of Yom Kippur, Napoleon's March. Another example from Navi, from the prophets, Yehoshua, who is the successor of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Moses, he wanted to send spies to figure out how to conquer the place called Yericho. He sent his spies, and where did they go? They stayed in a very famous hotel of Rachav Hazaina. Rachav, she was this woman who she had this, she was obviously the most beautiful woman, and she was a harlot, and it wasn't exactly, it was a shady business. And this is where they stayed. And she actually they came to look for the spies, and she actually saved their life. And the spies said to her, because you saved our lives, tie a red string to the window, and when we come to conquer this, we'll spear your family, anyone who's in this house. What's the end of the story? Yehoshua, the leader of the Jewish people, ended up marrying Rachav. And it says that she actually had elements of prophecy. She actually gave prophecy. So what does a tzaddik do? A tzaddik could pull someone out of the depths of impurity and transform them into a prophet. This is a tzaddik. This is how a tzaddik deals with evil. What's the one food that everyone knows that's not kosher? Right? We don't even say it, right? What's it called in Hebrew? A chazer, right? Do you know what the root word of chazer is? Lachzor, to return. When Mashiach comes, a chazer, pork, is going to become kosher. That's complete transformation. And we don't even want to call it by its name, right? We don't want to say pig, but how we say it in Hebrew is that it's going to return. That's what it means, a tzaddik. There's a very one more. There was a great sage. His name was Rabbi Yochanan, and he was bathing. He was a big tzaddik. He was a tzaddik gamor. He was bathing in the river, and there was this guy Shimon ben Lakish, who was a gangster. He was strong. He was beautiful. He was and he literally leaped across the river. And Rabbi Yochanan sees him. And he says, you should really start learning Torah. So the guy's like, are you out of your mind? He said, if you learn Torah, I will introduce you to my sister. And he said, okay. He took the challenge. He learned Torah. He became such a great sage. When you open up the Gemara and you see Reb Shimon, it's Reb Shimon ben Lakish. And he ended up marrying Rabbi Yochanan's sister. So that's what it means. That's what it means, transformation. That the darkness itself becomes light. Not that there's darkness and I have to bring a candle to fight it, to melt away the darkness. The darkness itself becomes light. The bitterness itself becomes sweet. Okay, and it has to be, and it's to the full extent. If there's a surgeon, right, and there's a patient that has cancer, and you're trying to beat the cancer, and you beat it and you beat it and you beat it, and then the surgeon will say, you know what, I beat it enough. Let's just leave it alone. No. You have to beat it until you have to completely. There's no eradicate it and transform it. There's no such thing as saying, okay, let's have a little bit of pity on the tumor. No, you have to completely transform it, and the care, how much you want to change the world by complete tzaddik is so complete that they will not rest until Mashiach comes. until the world is completely transformed. Okay, so now we spoke about how a tzaddik deals with Sormei Ra, all the evil, that he has to completely transform it till it becomes light and sweetness. Now we're going to take another thing, which is a little bit Kabbalistic, but it's like beyond, it's so beautiful. What's the difference? We said that they're elevated. I understand that they're elevated in how we deal with evil. First of all, they don't have temptation. Second of all, they transform everything 100% to complete transformation. How do they deal with, what do they do proactively? Not just dealing with evil, like in the good way, in Asei Taiv, in the realm of doing good. Because if Moshe Rabbeinu puts on tefillin and Chaim Yankel puts on tefillin, they both did the mitzvah. It's not that Moshe Rabbeinu gets 10 mitzvahs. No, it's 2 mitzvahs, hand tefillin, head tefillin, whatever it is. It's equal mitzvahs. So what is different about how a tzaddik does a mitzvah and how regular people do a mitzvah? Okay, so why do we do a mitzvah? Why are we here at the Tanya class? Why do we do a mitzvah? Hashem commanded.
Because you want to.
You want to.
God, like, to be like closer to him. In God,
Okay.
to do as well.
Okay, so we have all kinds of great answers here. Usually the answer is, whatever your reason is, the motivation for us to do a mitzvah is that there's going to be some benefit for me. I'm going to be connected. I'm going to get olam haba. I'm going to get a reward. There's going to be I'll feel connected. And the greatest motivation for us is, imagine a person who's so thirsty. Tzama nafshi. They have such a thirst for God that can't be quenched. And they want to connect to Hashem because they're so thirsty. And the only way they can quench their thirst is by connecting to Hashem. But the common denominator is that at the end of the day, and someone who's so thirsty, you can't tell them wait. They're so thirsty. So they have such a desire to cleave to God and connect and everything like that. But ultimately, it's for their gain.
But it also can benefit others and benefit the world just by being a good example to people. Or, I mean, maybe not, depending on who you are or who you're around, having conversations, maybe people ask questions, you might end up pulling people in to doing the mitzvahs or being closer to Hashem just by conversation, being that example. So even though, yes, you are doing it because you want to connect with Hashem, ultimately other good is going to come of it.
100%. Of course, you're a light and you're inspiring other people and you're a great example. 100%.
Or people might say, I want that. I want what you have.
Yeah.
Wow, you really look like you're happy and at peace and full of love. I want that too.
Right. So now you have to understand what is the difference between how you do a mitzvah, that you're a light unto everyone else and you're inspiration and you bring other people closer to Judaism and you're connecting. How is that different? Because a tzaddik has to be bnei aliyah. He has to be completely on an airplane, not in traffic, on a completely higher level. So how is a tzaddik different? Does it for Hashem.
No gain.
No gain. Okay, so we're getting here. We're getting there. It says, who is a chassid? Ha-mischased im kainai. Who is a chassid? Who is a pious individual? Someone who does kindness with his creator. The word kainai comes from the word kain, which means a nest. The world is like a nest. Hashem creating the world for us is like a bird, a mother bird who makes a nest for her babies. Hashem, we have to realize, Hashem creates the world. But Hashem is not just the creator of this world. Hashem is way beyond that. Hashem is way beyond. There's so much more than just this world and just this universe. And a chassid, the definition of a chassid is someone who goes beyond the letter of the law. So in this case, we're talking about a tzaddik. A tzaddik is someone who does kindness with his creator. Now, that's a very scary thing. Like, how can I do kindness to an infinite God? Like, who am I? Like, what? Or even a tzaddik? Like, God is infinite. So, like, how can we do kindness with God? What does that mean? What is a tzaddik doing when he does a mitzvah? So, to answer this question, we are created in the image of God. The male-female dynamic is the God is the male, and the Jewish people are the female. God is the groom, we are the bride. And what happens in a relationship between husband and wife, that's the same thing that's happening between Hashem and the Jewish people. So what happens? We know that a chassan and a kala, a bride and a groom, they are two halves of one soul. Let's go back even to the time of Adam. Not everyone knows this, but when God created the world, God created Adam, man, and it was male and female together. And then God separated the female from the male, and then for the rest of our lives, we're looking to come back together with our other half of our soul. So there's a part, there's the man, and then there's the part that's detached that wants to come back. And you'll see that even in life, from when a girl is 4 or 5 years old, she's already dreaming about being a kala. How many little girls, when it comes to Purim, want to dress up like a kala, right? The yearning to get engaged and get married is much more felt by the girl than by the little boy. The little boy, give me a break, give me fire trucks, whatever, who cares? And even when it's time to get married, the girl is the one that's dying to get married more than the guy. The guys, maybe once they're introduced to each other, then maybe things shift a little bit. But like the guys, I laugh. It's so funny because to get a guy, how much work did we have to do to get the yes, right? And then they start dating, and all of a sudden the guy started to say yes, and she's still thinking, like what's going on? It's funny. Like you're desperate to get the yes from. It's harder to get a yes from a guy, but then once they're dating, a lot of times it's the girl that says no. But in any case, so the part that's detached is the one that yearns more to get reattached, to become whole again. And God is infinite. And what happens is, I don't know if you say this in your siddur, but in our siddur, before Baruch Sha'amar, we say, L'shem yichud kutchebrichu ushchinte. And some people say it before they do a mitzvah. Right. And what are you saying? I'm doing this mitzvah, I'm davening l'shem for the purpose of yichud, the union of kutchebrichu. Kutchebrichu is Aramaic for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Shchinta, the Shechina. So you have to translate all these things. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is God. And we say HaKadosh, the Holy One, Baruch Hu, blessed be He. The Holy One, blessed be He. Now we're using the word holy.
I'm going from this. Okay, I'm going from this. Yeah. Bye-bye. Take care.
Okay, so perfect. Okay, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu means the Holy One, blessed be He. Holy means separate. So there's two different, opposite almost, parts, if you could say, of God. There's Kutchebrichu, Holy One, blessed be He, who's separate and apart from this world and infinite. And then God, in His kindness, separated a piece of Himself, which is called the Shechina. Shechina comes from the word lishkon, to rest. God sort of separated a piece of Himself to actually be in this world, to rest in this world. We say the Shechina, the divine presence, rests in this world. We had the Mishkan, the Beis HaMikdash, the temple, the tabernacle, and the Shechina rested in the tabernacle, in the temple. So the Shechina is the feminine, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the masculine. And the Shechina is kind of separated from the infinity of God to be in this world, to rest in this world. This is God's divine. The translation of Shechina is the divine presence. Divine presence is different than His infinity. See, there's more than just the Creator. God is infinite, way above this world. So our vision As much as we'll do mitzvahs and we want to connect and we want to inspire, we're all in this world. We don't see beyond this world. But a tzaddik who's bnei aliyah, who's on a higher realm, what's his motivation to do a mitzvah? Not for any personal gain, but in order to unite Kudsha Brichu and Shechina. And we say that the Shechina, God's divine presence, is with us in exile. So the tzaddik, complete tzaddik, his whole motivation, his whole purpose, his whole everything his whole motivation is to free the Shechina from the exile by uniting it, by bringing the Kala to her chassan. He's like a matchmaker to reunite the Jewish people, the bride, with the groom. That's why a tzaddik does a mitzvah. So of course we all have a desire to bring Mashiach and do everything that we can to bring Mashiach. But a tzaddik is doing it on even a higher level. His whole motivation is to free the Shechina from this world and to unite it with Kudsha Brichu, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with the infinity of God. And how does he do it? When we do a mitzvah down here, we're also doing this, but a tzaddik is doing it on a higher level because he sees what he's doing and he's motivated by this concept. When we do a mitzvah, what are we doing? There's masculine waters and feminine waters. Of course, it's all Kabbalistic. But think of a relationship between a husband and a wife. Sometimes the husband initiates, sometimes the woman initiates. She'll make a delicious dinner. She'll wear a beautiful dress. She'll, smile, whatever it is. And that, that elicits a response from the spouse. It goes both ways. So when we do a mitzvah, what we're doing is we are making the feminine waters flow upwards. When we take a glass of water and make a blessing, we are taking the energy of this water and we're making it from bottom up. We are elevating the water for a godly purpose, and we are making we are taking this feminine energy and we are making it flow upwards. I know, because usually everything flows downwards with gravity, but spiritually, we're making it flow upwards, and that elicits a response that the masculine waters flow downwards into the world. So it's two opposites. The Shechina is, much more limited. It's that piece that was kind of separated from God that could be in this physical world. And then there's the part of God that's too great, it's too infinite, that's above the world. And what our job is to unite the two, and when will we have the kudsha? And the point of the goal of this world is not that God to leave us hanging, but the point of the point of creation and the point of and what's going to happen when Mashiach comes, and the ultimate goal is that infinite light that's really above the world, that can't really come down here because it's just too great, that great light should do the impossible and should come down into this world, and we should have the two merging together. That's our goal. That's what we want to accomplish. That the infinite light that really is impossible for it to enter the world, that slowly but surely, with every mitzvah that we do, slowly but surely, we're with the feminine waters flow upwards and draw down the masculine infinite waters down into this world, until slowly but surely God's infinity should actually be present down here in this world in a revealed way. And that what does that look like? That's Mashiach. Okay, so with that we conclude. Yeah,
I never understood what I was saying before. But
same.
But does it say this at the end of time also? I feel like this was like a week ago or something, even though you explained it so much clearer and better than does it repeat this at the end?
I'm sure it does. It does.
It's the same thing about
if you want to read it inside, I didn't actually learn it. I didn't actually learn it from the inside, but I would like to for a couple, if we have a couple of seconds, to read a couple of lines. Let's see if we can do that. So I'm just going on my phone and I'm Googling chapter 10. Chapter 10, Tanya. My phone's a little slow.
It wasn't, I was listening to him say this, it was last week, I was probably.
No, for sure, because think about it. That's our whole purpose. And for sure, the Tanya could talk about it because that's the whole purpose.
So it repeats this whole concept of Shvente and.
100%,
You
100%.
explained it so amazing though.
It's Rabbi Shishler. Okay, my phone is taking its time to load.
Want me to bring a panic on my side?
Sure. Oh, she has it faster. Amazing. Thank you so much.
I was looking at it earlier.
Okay.
I don't know where it's at
Chapter
exactly,
10.
but I know.
Okay,
it's
so I'm going to
pretty-
go down to the
go
bottom
from
of
there.
chapter 10. It's so beautiful. Let's see where it is. Yeah, I'm not finding it.
What part of chapter 10 is it?
It's supposed to be at the end of chapter 10. So maybe it's not in the actual text. Okay, I should have done better research.
Next time.
Maybe it's not actually in the text, and maybe so she's saying that it comes later on.
You want to? I'm trying to think of it.
Okay, I'm going to turn off the Zoom for now, and then I'll continue looking. But in any case, we've learned the true motivation for a tzaddik, and then God willing, next chapter we'll do one chapter for the Rasha, which we'll try to do very quickly, and then we'll go to the Beinoni. So thank you so much for coming on this journey. Okay. Have a wonderful day, Chava Shendel and Hamid. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mom.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Sure.